Oh, it's Thursday night, and you know what that means. That means it's time for the magic. And look, I'm going to be honest. I feel like most weeks I'm coming in and I'm apologizing for the game, but not this week. No! We have an absolute gem of a football game to get you ready for. He's Matt Harmon. He's Andy Behrens. I'm Jason Fitch. All right, it's time to look at our fantasy game changers for the week, powered by Ram Trucks. All right, so we're going to give you a word that we associate with Ram Trucks and a player and figure out who that player is. Matt, you are up first, and your word, powerful. Powerful pick for week 11. What do you got?
Yeah, I'll talk about Chiefs rookie receiver Rashee Rice coming off the bye, and this guy is absolutely powerful. I mean, he's sixth right now in yards after contact per reception among pass catchers who have 40-plus targets. He's been breaking tackles in the open field. He's averaging just straight up 8 yards after the catch per reception. I mean, that's some crazy yards after catch stuff. He's played 57.9% of his routes he's run from the slot. That's where his primary position has been. Now, I'm on record saying I want to see him do a little more than that. I want to see him run more than just crossing routes, more than slants, more than digs from the slot. And I realize he's been really good in this yak area, but I'd like to see him do more things if he's going to have like a fully expressed breakout. However, against the Eagles, who are really generous to slot receivers and have issues all over the place on defense. I mean, they're 19th in EPA per dropback allowed right now. I actually don't think Rashee Rice needs to do much more than just run slants and get yards after contact and get yards after the catch from the slot to be a really good fantasy pick here in week 11.
All right, Andy, give us a premium player, like premium Ram.
Yeah, Brock Purdy is a premium option against the Bucs this week. He's a premium option against pretty much anyone lately, but especially against the 31st ranked pass defense in the league. Tampa Bay has allowed the third most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. They give up 7.6 yards per attempt. Purdy needed a get-right game last week after his bye, and he definitely got it. 296 and 3 touchdowns against Jacksonville. He is now leading the NFL in yards per attempt, yards per completion, passer rating. This all sounds pretty premium to me. The 49ers offense is now healthy, which of course means that no quarterback has more elite weapons at their disposal than Purdy does. He's got Ayuk, he's got Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey, etc. We're right back basically to where we were last season with Purdy when multi-touchdown games were just the expectation.
I think there's no bigger teeter-totter seesaw, depending on where you grew up, than the narrative on Brock Purdy. It feels like it was great, then it was terrible, now it's back to great again. I'm interested to see what it looks like. All right, my word is fast, and this one hurts my heart. I hate to have to do it, but let's be real. If we're going to talk about a fast player, then we need to talk about Tyreek in a matchup against my beloved Raiders that absolutely favors him in every way. This comes down to two different portions. One, the Raiders cannot stop the run this year, and they know that. So they're going to have to make a decision on trying to slow down Tyreek or trying to slow down Raheem Mostert. I don't think they have much of a shot at either, but they will dedicate more to Mostert because that's more attainable, which means Cheetah's going to be running all over the place. Don't let the numbers lie to you. The Raiders' pass defense doesn't look that bad statistically, but also look at the quarterbacks they've been playing of late. You have to look at the games they played against actual quality opponents. Their secondary is going to be put in a bad situation, and their safeties are going to be having to help with the run in a way that won't allow them to help with Tyreek. I think Tyreek Hill is going to have his biggest game of the season and put up the most fantasy points we've seen all year in a bludgeoning of my beloved Raiders. I don't feel great about it, but that's I just got to be honest with the world. No matter how you're looking, no matter what you're looking for, in a light-duty truck, the 2023 Ram 1500's got you covered. Score yours at ram.com. So let's help some people make some picks. Gentlemen, shall we? As we get you ready for Thursday and the entire weekend, remember, #AskFFL, but we're going to look at some tough flex decisions for multiple players from users submitted through social media on the app, and we will start. I like to go to the guys I know you love. So Jesse asked the question, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Jahan Dotson, or DJ Moore, one for flex, the other for wide receiver, to make your pick, #AskFFL. All right, I'm going to throw this one. We'll throw this to Harmon because it's got Nico Collins in it. What do you think?
Oh, man, I was really hoping you were going to throw this one to Andy because this is tough. Really, I think DJ Moore is kind of a must start here. With Justin Fields back, the target totals have been there for DJ Moore with Tyson Bagent, but the downfield throws have not been there. We just saw Keenan Allen rip up this Lions secondary, which has been very banged up all season long. So that puts DJ Moore squarely in like fringe wide receiver 1 territory to me. So then it's between these other 3 guys. I think Jahan Dotson is a distant third option here, so I'm going to eliminate him. And really it's between these 2 Texans receivers. I really don't think you can go wrong here because both of these guys are in a great matchup, but I do think the perimeter corners have been, they already highlighted Nico Collins for me, so I was going to go Nico Collins here. So you've made the decision for me, Ron, or who's ever doing the graphics back there. So yeah, not me, because of the graphics, we're going Nico Collins.
Yeah, what Ron, who does great work on this show every week, realizes is you're going to go Nico eventually.
Yeah, they knew where I was going.
We all you're
like, move it along, guy, move it along.
We know what you're going to order just to go. All right, so let's pull the next question up, and it also involves Nico, so I won't let you answer it so we can maybe get an unbiased. Which 3 do I start? Devonte Adams, Metcalf, Ayuk, Nakua, or Nico Collins? What a collection of names. What do you think, Barons?
Yeah, man, first of all, trade deadline's coming up in Yahoo leagues, and you've got some wide receivers to shop, so I would suggest that you do it. I'm going to play Devonte Adams, first of all, here. And I'm like the low guy on Adams this week in the Yahoo ranks, and he's still my wide receiver 15. He's in a neutral matchup with Miami. They're going to have to throw the ball. He's great, one of the best to ever do it. So I'm playing Adams. I'm going to go Ayuk as well. Everything that I recently said about Brock Purdy applies to Brandon Ayuk's situation. He's been fantastic this year, and he gets that Bucs defense. We like that. And I'm going to go Nico Collins. Arizona, his matchup this week, they've allowed like 15 passing touchdowns on the season, high YPA. So I like this situation for Collins a lot.
At the very least, Nico could start sending us jerseys or something. We'll call ourselves the Collins Club because, right? Nico always gets love on this. Like, this is America. This is Nico Collins' show. Let's just be honest. All right, let's pull up John's question here. John coming in next says, 1 running back, 1 flex spot open, Singletary, Mitchell, Rice, Dobbs, Sutton to choose from. Which 2 are the best options to start? What say you, Harmon?
Yeah, I think we're going Rashee Rice and we're going Keaton Mitchell here. We're feeling a little spicy, right? I mean, I think Devin Singletary's in a pretty good spot there with Dameon Pierce probably not playing it since he's not practicing it this late into the week. But man, I mean, they've got to get Keaton Mitchell the ball more, you know? I mean, come on, we're seeing so much juice there from this rookie. He is adding so much. I really do believe John Harbaugh when he says that they're working on ways to get him more involved here. So I'll go with the rookie running back and the rookie receiver.
I respect so much that you said juice and not the other word so far in this show.
Oh, it's coming. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Josh has, I did that to myself. Josh is up next asking start 3 in PPR, wide receiver, tight end, and flex spot available. Terry McLaurin, I can speak. Lockett, Kirk, Kincaid, and Laporta. I think we know one of the answers that Andy will pick here, but what do you got there?
Yeah, listen, any question with Sam Laporta in it, I'm definitely going to go Sam Laporta. But he gets a premium matchup against the Bears. The Bears have allowed 20 passing touchdowns on the season. Kincaid, great player, fun player. You're going to enjoy him over the balance of the season, but he's got the Jets this week. It's probably a low-scoring game. My 2 receivers here are going to be McLaurin, who faces the Giants. That's a great spot. And Tyler Lockett. He's just so good. I trust him just a tad more than Christian Kirk. The problem, obviously, for Jacksonville is that you're pretty much talking about like 1 passing TD, maybe 2 per week. I think there's a greater shot that Lockett finds the end zone.
All right, keep your questions coming. We will keep getting you your help. In the meantime, there's so much parity in the AFC this year. There's 14 teams within a game or 2 of a playoff spot, which is amazing. In this week's Eckler's Edge, Chargers running back Austin Eckler and Matt talked about what that competition is like from a player's standpoint. Check out a little of the conversation.
The entire AFC playoff race right now, Austin, is incredibly tight. 11 teams right now in the AFC are over 500. Despite the Chargers being 4-5, you guys are 1 game back of a wild card spot.
Yeah, the AFC is wide open halfway through the season. And, all of us, especially all these people that are in the hunt, and even the other teams too, we take it 1 week at a time. And really that's what it comes down to, because you can get beat on any Sunday. There's no guarantees, and you get reminded about that every single week. It's more exciting. I think it's amazing. Maybe not for like the fans when they're out there because they're like, we just want our team to dominate. But as a player in this stuff, it's like we're all in the flipping. Like this is the grind of the season right now, man. And it's ultra competitive. And everything matters just that much more because now one game back, you might be gone because there's so many people in the hunt right there. So obviously I wish we were in a better spot, but then a weird part of me is like, I love that we're in this grind and it's like, we got to go out there and do it because like it puts some pressure on you and it's just like, all right, like, let's see if we can do it. Can we put this together? Can we get over the hump? Man, as a competitor, I eat this stuff up. Like this is what keeps me going.
All right, let's take a look at some of the fantasy chatter that's out there in the app this week. Most players, the most talked about players in the app. You got Foreman. I love this quote. Sitting this man this week. Feel like the Bears will be forced to pass against Detroit from Eric. Noah Brown. I think they'll still ease Collins back in and possibly use him as a decoy. Keaton Mitchell, who we've talked a lot about also. I'm 4-6 and really need a win this week. Starting him over Christian Kirk. Someone talked me away from the ledge. Let's start with Foreman here. I'd like to see what you think on this one. Foreman, Barron's. I mean, we've talked a little bit about this matchup, but are we buying that Chicago is going to have to throw so much that there'll be no Foreman in this game?
Oh, I will say that I don't think the Bears are ever going to veer away from the run, like no matter the game situation. I think we're going to still see them run the football. That's kind of their identity as a team. However, I will say that Foreman has been a little bit dinged, and Khalil Herbert put in a full practice on Thursday. So when Herbert comes back, he was great in his 5 starts. Like not good. He was over 5 yards per carry. He's been super efficient. He's made some strides as a receiver as well. So I think Herbert takes a huge chunk of this workload out of the backfield. So that's what I would be worried about, perhaps more than the Lions themselves. I think Herbert's going to be a major factor.
Harmon, educate me on your thoughts for Brian because he wants to be talked away from the ledge. 4-6 needs a win this week. Starting Keaton Mitchell over Christian Kirk. You were high on Keaton Mitchell earlier. You feel good about that?
Oh, Christian Kirk has just been so reliable. I mean, he's been kind of the one guy that has had consistent opportunity and a consistent role within this, or at least a consistent good role, I should say. I mean, Calvin Ridley's had a consistent, I'm getting press on the line of scrimmage and not getting moved around, and they're just going to tether me to the sideline. That's been a consistent role. It's just not consistently been very fun. Christian Kirk's role has been pretty consistently fun. I don't know. It's a good matchup against Tennessee. That is a defense that you can exploit on the back end. So it is frisky to start Keaton Mitchell, and you do need that win. Like one more loss and you're really not looking at a good spot there. So if you're looking for that ceiling play, I get it. I just don't know that as a representative of big receiver, a lead lobbyist for big receiver, I can tell you to do this.
I just frankly love the usage of the word frisky there. That chef's kiss, no notes, 10 out of 10. Perfect. We should do that more often. All right, let's get to a little bit of fun here on rookies. And everybody likes to do a rookie report card. But what if I told you we were going to do the rookie report card a little bit different? This time we're going to flip the script. And instead of grading players on their season performance so far, we're going to look at some of the rookie flex plays and grade the rest of the season fantasy potential. So we're grading based on where we think they'll end up. Matt, you get to go first. Josh Downs, give me a grade.
Oh, baby, Josh Downs. I mean, A+ for Josh Downs rest of season. This guy is so good. Fitz, he has been one of the best separators in the NFL, period, full stop. Not rookies. Like, he's been one of the best separators in the NFL at the wide receiver position as a rookie. I mean, this guy gets open from the slot. He gets open from the outside. He can win down the field. Like, obviously, if Anthony Richardson was there, if it wasn't Gardner Minshew, the ceiling would be higher. But I think he's going to be consistently productive. Vibe comes at a perfect time. He's over there in Germany. He makes a couple of clutch plays, reminding us just how good he is at football. Makes a couple clutch plays, but he doesn't play very much because of the injury. Now he gets the bye to get healthy, reset. I think this Colts offense is going to be competitive rest of season. Michael Pittman is one of the most, if not the most underrated receivers in the NFL. Great duo there. Josh Downs, I think, is set up to thrive rest of season. A+ for me.
We should at least educate the world that Harmon's throwing a little shade at me because I recently waxed philosophically about the terrible wide receiver play of the Colts. It should be pointed out Downs was injured during that point. No, so I mean, I just message received, good sir. Let's see how it goes the rest of the year. But yes, I think having him healthy obviously makes a difference to it. Andy Barons, I can take the shade. Like I threw the heat. I can come back at me. Andy.
I like that you think I remember what we said last week. Like, I mean, good Lord, a week ago that might have as well be 100 years ago at this point.
I'll let everybody else review it and we'll figure it out. Andy, what are your thoughts on Jaden Reed, the rookie report card moving forward for Jaden Reed?
Yeah, I'm giving Jaden Reed a B+, and this is really a situation where like I'm like the teacher who wants to incentivize a talented student. It's probably an A moving forward, but we're just gonna say B+, just to make sure he gets there. I feel like if you ask just any random fantasy manager right now, or any random Packers fan probably, to tell you who leads Green Bay in receiving, they would get this wrong. It's Jaden Reed. He leads the team in yardage. He's second in targets. Also has 4 touchdown receptions, which is 3 more than Christian Watson has through 9 games. Reed has played almost exclusively from the slot, and he rarely sees more than 35 snaps. That's the thing about Reed. He's barely playing. He'll play like 50% of the snaps in any given week. The fact that his playing time has been so like unnecessarily limited gives him plenty of room to ascend. His second half can absolutely end up much better than his first.
All right, let's go next. Matt, back to you. Quinton Johnson over there in LA with the Chargers.
Oh, time to be a little negative here. I'm going to give Quinton Johnson a D-. And look, this is extra harsh because in order to project for the future and grade for the future, you've got to look a little bit at the past. And I think the results for Quinton Johnson have been really, I mean, nothing short of a disaster so far. And frankly, like the Chargers knew this was going to happen. Maybe not quite this bad in terms of his just complete lack of ability to get open, but they came into the year not wanting to play this guy. They did not want him to be anything more than their 4th receiver. They want him to be a long-term developmental X receiver behind Mike Williams, which is a huge project because that is not the role, not what he did in college. He didn't thrive in contested situations. He didn't thrive against press coverage. Well, you know what? He's not doing any of that as a rookie in the league. This was a developmental thing, but oh, right, you have Mike Williams, who's injury prone. Josh Palmer gets hurt. Now Quinton Johnson is forced into a big role, and I think people will get excited about that big role, but everything we've seen so far says this is not a guy who's ready to produce at the NFL level. Hopefully I'm wrong. The Chargers really need me to be wrong because they need him to produce. They need him to stretch the field. And so far, I mean, I'm not giving him an F because he's running a lot of routes with Justin Herbert, who's a really good player, but so far, the results on the individual player, not great so far.
And by the way, systems matter. We talk about it for quarterbacks all the time. They matter for wide receivers, too. I think you make a really good point about what he was capable of, what he's being asked to do. All right, Andy, I think this will be a little bit more positive grade. Tank Dell, grade moving forward for Tank Dell.
Yeah, we'll end on an uplifting note. Tank Dell has to be an A. He's currently the wide receiver 16 overall in fantasy. He's on pace for over 1,000 yards, 9 to 10 touchdowns. Easy A with a shot at an A+, honestly, by the end of the season. Unlike Jaden Reed, Dell has already arrived at a point where he rarely comes off the field. 72 snaps last week, 61 the week before. He's seen a 29% target share over the past 4 weeks. It helps that his quarterback is in the MVP conversation, no doubt about it. CJ Stroud is playing, years ahead of where we necessarily thought he would be. Dell has also shown us everything that you could possibly want to see from a young receiver. Yards after catch ability, excellent hands. He's a good blocker, an ability to shed opposing corners. Dell has shown us absolutely everything. If you're a believer in CJ Stroud, you have got to be a believer in Tank Dell. I think he can finish this season exactly where he sits in the ranks right now as a really solid wide receiver too.
That's just a stunning statement because everything you said is right and it all makes sense. But it's a stunning statement. Like, we spent so much time talking about the fact that the Texans found their coach and their quarterback. We should also acknowledge that they have found what looks like a star wide receiver. Like, it's no one thing this year that's made the Texans take this meteoric leap. It's multiple things that have done that. So kudos to them. Good job by you, gentlemen, giving out grades. Always difficult. Harmon, by far the tougher grader. I'm just going to say it out loud. Harmon can do that, though, because he's right now in first place. Let's get to it. Rut-row. Here we are. Primetime.
Yeah,
pick.
let's get to it.
Primetime picks.
Skip this one time.
Whole thing is rigged. Here's what we do. Every single week, we get to pick one player from each primetime night of action. So Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night. Only one player is picked. And then from that, we are given scores. I have been in first place for quite a long time. But as you can see there last week, I was well outpaced. And now I find myself in a tie with Mr. Harmon. But Mr. Harmon has the advantage in total points by half a point. So Harmon is taking first place for the first time in what I think is 6 months. I'm not picking last in this snake draft we're about to do. Andy Behrens, you did not come in last over the course of this week. I should give you a little credit, my friend. I came in last this week. You came in second. So, even though the graphic has you in third place and you only have 2 wins, you did come in second. So let's round of applause here for Andy Behrens remembering how to play the game. All right, so now we go through this. Oh, go ahead, Andy. Are you
I was going to say, let the record show that I was leading this contest from Thursday night until there were like 5 minutes remaining in the Monday game. So I feel that I won the time of possession battle last week.
You choked. Okay. Actually, that means you choked. You choked at the end. Not a clutch play. Andy Behrens does not have the clutch gene. Let it be shown.
Can we also, we've never really talked about this, but Matt Harmon's headshot, which is delightful, is far different than this version of Matt Harmon. Like, Matt Harmon's headshot looks like you're in one direction. This version of Matt Harmon does not look like this. Like, you're the bad boy in the band now. There you've got, the little beard with the little hair and the little glasses. Like, you've got the whole, I might be like a pop star that sits down and plays a piano song. And now it's... Well, you got a little tougher edge. Like, what happened?
That was toupee, Matt. That was toupee, Matt Harmon, actually.
Oh, buddy, that was real and it was spectacular. But unfortunately, I definitely look like the guy who back then, and this is true, I was so young and rosy and optimistic and a bright future ahead of me. And like this version of me looks like I've seen some things. And that's what years of working alongside Andy Behrens will do to you, Fitz. So let's see how you look in a few years, pal.
Oh my God. I got nothing. If I don't have my looks, I got nothing. Okay, so let's get to the draft. And we start with Andy Behrens. You are up first. Remember our games for everybody. Bengals at Ravens tonight. Vikings, Broncos, yippee, on Sunday night. And then Eagles, Chiefs on Monday night. So there are some good options out there. Andy Behrens, you have the first pick in the draft. What say you?
Yeah, even though there are a lot of great options in the Eagles-Chiefs game, I'm gonna go ahead and take Travis Kelce. The analytics tell us that he performs better with Taylor Swift in the building. Reports suggest that not only will Taylor be present on Monday night, but we could be treated to the first meeting between the extended families, the Kelce family and the Swift family. Looking forward to it. That means we have 10 catches for 180 and 2 touchdowns incoming.
You're probably right about that. Haters gonna hate. Can't say anything about it. I'm up next. I'll go to A.J. Brown. This one, just taking another weapon off the Monday Night Football. This one's tough for me, obviously, because I think it's between Brown and Chase. They're both I think positioned to have really good games in this situation. But I'll take A.J. Brown just because he's been on a heater and he's done well for me in this competition. So Harmon, who do you got?
Spoiler alert, I am taking Jamar Chase. I can ignore the Monday Night Football game now because you guys have taken players from there, so I'll save that for my last pick. So I will go Jamar Chase here. Look, he showed last week it takes one play. It takes one play for this guy to break your lineup wide open, break a game wide open, whatever you want to say. So for me, I'm definitely going Jamar Chase. And for my second pick here, I don't know if I trust Justin Jefferson playing, so I will take, I think, TJ Hawkinson, the other kind of most valuable pass catcher in this offense right now. This guy has 27 targets the last 2 weeks with Josh Dobbs playing most of the snaps for the Minnesota Vikings. Pat Surtain's a really good outside lockdown corner. If there's no Justin Jefferson, I think he'll be locking up Jordan Addison out there. That leaves TJ Hawkinson wide open to run through the middle of the field. I think Hawkinson's in line for a big game on Sunday night.
Well, I am stunned I'm sitting here, but, I'll in the words of, based on the song of one of my great mentors, Kenny Rogers, one of the nicest guys I ever toured with. Got to know when to hold him, know when to fold him. I'm going all in on this. All in on this one. You're mentioning that you're worried about the injury for Justin Jefferson. I fear nothing. All of my chips go right in, and suddenly I have A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson in this competition. All he has to do is limp his way onto the field, and I'm going to be winning this damn thing. Oh, I feel so good. I don't even know what to say. All right, go ahead, Andy. Now that I've got.
Oh, wait, for the record, if Justin Jefferson doesn't play on Sunday night, you get a 0, right? There's none of this like, oh, I'll just sub in Jordan Addison in the group chat afterwards, like Andy Behrens, who originally took Chuba Hubbard last week. And then we find out Herbert's not playing, and he goes to Donta Foreman. That's what's happening behind the scenes here.
I needed every break. Come on.
Wait. Have you not done the same thing earlier in the season, Harmon? Did we not at one point allow you the opportunity to take somebody else?
When?
Secrets of the group chat coming out.
I don't remember we did. Oh, well, you don't remember the conversation a week ago. We'll have to have our producer chime in on this. Like, maybe you know what, for next week, we'll find the moments where,
Talk to my lawyer.
Forgiven each. Okay. This, you know what? I hadn't thought of subbing out Jefferson, but now I absolutely will. Andy, you've got 2 picks. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go old school ground and pound primetime picks. I'm going to take a couple running backs. I'll go Joe Mixon. I'm going to go ahead and ride his 3-game touchdown streak. Obviously a difficult matchup with Baltimore, but teams have had a little bit more success on the ground than through the air against the Ravens. My next pick is going to be Javonte Williams. He has 55 touches and a pair of touchdowns over his last 2 games. He's coming off a week with 110 scrimmage yards and looks suspiciously like the old Javonte.
You're right back to taking running backs the whole time. I told you earlier, the only guy I trust in Baltimore's offense is Mark Andrews. No T. Higgins, so this is an easy one for me. I take Mark Andrews, and I hope that over hits that I had for him get a couple touchdowns in there for me, too. A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Mark Andrews. I'm feeling swaggy now. All right, Harmon, you're last. What are you taking?
I am really hoping that Fitz is just in like a donut coma or whatever from the Dolphins beating the hell out of the Raiders on Sunday, so he forgets to sub out Jefferson. For my last pick, I will go back to that Monday Night Football game, and I will go with Devontae Smith. The splits show us that he has just been much better, much more productive when Dallas Goedert's not out there. It's a tough matchup with Kansas City, but I think he sets up really well for a nice bounce-back game in this one.
Well, hopefully I get a bounce back in the standings here. We'll keep you updated on how it goes. In the meantime, each week, Sal Vetri offers up unique fantasy advice here on the show. So let's check back in for Sal's 7 key findings for week 11 right here.
Here are the 7 key findings that'll help you win your Week 11 fantasy matchup. Finding number 1 is the best spot of the week. And this is for the Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs because David Montgomery returned last week but didn't see elite usage. Montgomery only played 38% of the snaps. It was actually Gibbs who was the main RB, seeing 19 opportunities. And he even split the red zone work, which led to 2 goal line touchdowns. Now this week, he's a 9-point favorite against the Bears' 29th ranked defense. Starting running backs in similar matchups average over 14 fantasy points this season. He's in the best spot. Finding number 2 is the sketchy spot of the week. And this is for the Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco, who right before his bye week actually saw career high usage. Pacheco played a season high 70% of the snaps and handled 76% of the running back carries. But this week he's in a sketchy spot because he faces the Eagles, who allow the fewest yards and fantasy points to opposing running backs. This Philadelphia defensive line is so good that they're allowing 20% fewer points than any other team to opposing running backs. So temper expectations for Pacheco out of the bye week. He likely won't be efficient here. Finding number 3 is the pickup and play of the week. And this is the Chargers receiver Jalen Guyton, who might be the sneakiest pickup and play of the season. In his 2nd game of the year last week, he ran 85% of the routes and earned 6 targets. This led to a solid fantasy day of 12 points, and he has previous seasons' experience with Justin Herbert. In those seasons, Guyton was known to be the boomer bust receiver downfield, but in week 10, we saw more encouraging usage. Guyton's average target distance was just 10 yards downfield. That's 41% less than his career average, and this will lead to more sustainable production. And there's no better time to start him than this week against a Packers secondary that is down 3 defensive backs. Finding number 4 is the number 1 trade target. And this is Devonte Johnson, who scored just 2 points last week and only had 1 catch. But there was a reason for this. The Steelers only threw 22 times because they had so much success running the ball against Green Bay. Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren combined for 31 carries and over 180 yards. They were highly efficient on the ground. So this was a clear outlier week for Deontay. Buy low on him before he faces 5 bottom 10 secondaries these next 6 weeks. Finding number 5 is a player to monitor. And this is Rondale Moore, who hasn't lived up to expectations so far this year, averaging just 14 yards per game. But now he has Kyler Murray back, and in week 10, his first week with Kyler, he earned 8 targets. This is important because last season, when healthy, Rondale Moore was a top 20 receiver with Kyler Murray as his quarterback. Rondale is currently available in 90% of Yahoo leagues, and he'll be facing 4 bottom 10 secondaries the next 6 6 weeks of the season. Finding number 6 is a rookie who is trending up. And believe it or not, this is the Denver Broncos receiver Marvin Mims, who he only has 15 targets on the season. And over his past 5 games, he's combined for negative 1.7 fantasy points. That's right, negative points. But the reason he's trending up is his week 10 usage. He ran a season high 76% of the routes, 30% more than any other week, and it came after the bye week. This is the exact trend you want to watch. A rookie seeing more usage out of the bye week. This dude averaged over 20 yards per catch in college. If his routes run remain this high, it's only a matter of time until he starts making big plays and can be a potential league winner down the stretch. Finding number 7 is a fantasy playoff stash. And this is the Houston Texans defense, who so far this season, they've been a middle of the pack defense averaging 6.7 points per game, which is ranked right next to the Eagles defense. But the difference, the Eagles defense is rostered in 76% of leagues, the Texans just 9% of leagues. And the real reason you want them is their fantasy playoff schedule against the Jets, Titans, and Browns. This means based on what we're looking at for starting quarterbacks right now against them, it's going to be Zach Wilson, Will Levis, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. You could argue this is the best QB stretch for any defense in the fantasy playoffs. Add the Texans. So these are the key findings that'll help you win your matchup this week. And as always, all you have to do now is take this information and use it to schmack around your league mates.
All right, Sal, I would never trade you for anything. There's nothing that we would give up Salvetri for. But people are looking to trade right now in fantasy football. Trade deadline is Saturday in most Yahoo leagues. So we thought after doing it last week, we'd help people again with some trade deadline questions. Are you ready to be asked all sorts of questions, Sal?
Yes, let's rock and roll.
All right, let's go to Nate first. Nate says Isaiah Pacheco, DJ Moore for Aaron Jones, Michael Pittman Jr. Thoughts? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm doing this deal, and here's why. At least for the rest of the season, it looks like you're getting the more reliable players. Aaron Jones is finally healthy, and it's showing. Over 20 opportunities a game right now. Solid playoff schedule. But the guy I really want here, Michael Pittman. I think he's on a different tier than DJ Moore, even Isaiah Pacheco on the other side of this. You're getting the best player in this deal. He right now ranks top 5 in wide receiver usage, and over the last 5 weeks has been a top 15 receiver every week.
All right, so let's look at the next trade question coming from Jets fan. Says Pollard for Jerome Ford and Hopkins. What do you think?
Yeah, now this one has me a little bit more hesitant here. Now, I know Pollard has been really frustrating for the fantasy manager who has him. You're coming off of a week where he should have done something, and they go over 500 yards of offense, only 5 fantasy points. But I'm not sure this actually improves your team. If you need depth, that's one thing, but Jerome Ford, a little bit more suspect now with the Deshaun Watson injury. DeAndre Hopkins has been fine with Will Levis, but just fine. Maybe if you have another week on your trade deadline in your specific league, you wait to see what happens in this great matchup for Pollard against Carolina. But if not, I'm holding him as a guy a couple of tiers above these other 2 options.
All right, we'll keep them coming here. And next up, we will get Project J in. Says, traded for Jettison Laporta, pushed out Josh Allen and Najee Harris. What do you think?
Yeah, this is one of those where you just absolutely slam dunk your finger right to the accept button because, look, Justin Jefferson's in the deal. That's all you had to say. He's practicing this week. Might return this week. Definitely going to return by next week at the latest, it seems, at this point. Everything else is just gravy in this deal. And that gravy is Sam Laporta, a top 5 fantasy tight end. Everything you look at. He's great efficiency-wise, usage-wise, production. This is the side of the deal I want. Even if Laporta wasn't in this, I'd take it. That's just a cherry on top.
All right, let's get one more in here. This one's a pretty good one here from Chris. Says, Kelsey Mostert for Amon-Ra St. Brown, Austin Eckler. I have McBride. What do you think?
Yeah, if you can if you're pulling this off right now, you got to go and do it. And bravo to you, Raheem Mostert. You're sending him away the exact week Devon Achane comes back. That is perfect. You're getting 2 top 10 players the rest of the year. Not just at their position, overall in fantasy. And I actually think, I know Travis Kelce is here, so maybe I got to say this a little quieter. I actually think Amon-Ra St. Brown's the best player in this deal. 11 targets per game. I'll take that side of it. It's great that you have McBride to fill in for Kelce.
Well, Swifties, if you want to add him, you just go to @SalVetriDFS. That's the way you let him know what you think of his Travis Kelce takes there. You can find more Sal on Yahoo Fantasy throughout the week. Follow him on social media. Let's bring in the boys to do a little bit of play calling here. Get some of your questions incoming. #AskFFL is the way you get in on it. We'll get this first question coming up from Jason. It's going to go to Andy Barons. He asked, Brian Robinson or Derrick Henry or Javonte Williams? I can play 2 of them. What do you think, Barons?
First of all, how dare Sal discuss Sam Laporta as a throw-in in a Justin Jefferson deal? I'm outraged. This is a tough one. You've got 3 great options here. It feels weird to stay away from Derrick Henry, especially against the Jags. He's had such incredible games against them over the years. But I'm gonna go Brian Robinson. He's got 8 touchdowns on the season. Had 6 catches last week. You love the usage. He's facing the Giants. Antonio Gibson is dinged, so I want Robinson here. And I also want Javonte Williams. Discussed it earlier. 55 touches in his last 2 games, couple of touchdowns. The workload is absolutely premium right now, and the matchup isn't really a stay away situation.
All right, Harmon, the next one's coming to you, and this one is coming from Sunny Day Real Estate. We'll go with that. And trust Lamar for some ceiling tonight, or pivot to Howell. What do you think?
I know Sam Howell has like all these impressive passing stats. He leads the NFL in passing yards, everything like that. He's dropped back more than any other quarterback in the NFL. I still don't think he is up in Lamar's tier as a fantasy quarterback. I mean, Lamar has had 30-point eruption weeks. Like, we've seen that happen this year. Andy talks about it on the podcast basically every single week. You can't get him to stop talking about it. Andy Behrens loves to talk about how panicked people are about Lamar Jackson. It's his favorite topic. You should have thrown this one to him. But for me, I'm going with Lamar Jackson here. I think he's in a good spot. We talked about it earlier. If one offense is going to erupt in this game tonight, I think it could be the Ravens.
All right, Sal, you are up next. And this question comes from Tamara, who says, flex, standard league, Keaton Mitchell or Dalton Kincaid? I have Laporta at tight end.
All right, so I'm very excited to watch Keaton Mitchell potentially see more usage tonight. That's what we're hearing, and he's apparently the greatest running back ever on his first 15 touches. So it's going to be tough to sit him, but you should. You're getting a little bit more security, you can say, at least runway, out of Dalton Kincaid, who right now, very quietly, 15 or more fantasy points in 4 straight games. The 3 games in a row now without Dawson Knox, he's basically been like a stud slot receiver. 25% of the targets he's earning, running basically every single route out there with Josh Allen, and Allen knows that he has these matchup advantages against linebackers. So I'm going to go ahead and get Kincaid here, and if Keaton Mitchell goes off tonight, that's great for future weeks.
Okay, I can't, my job is to read here, and I can't believe I'm about to read this. It just feels weird from a football standpoint, but Tony asks, Mahomes or the Pastronaut Josh Dobbs? Like, I get it, but Harmon, it just feels weird to read it. So what do you think?
Can't do it. I can't do it. Look, I think this is no disrespect to the Pastronaut. This is no disrespect to Josh Dobbs. But I think when we see Josh Dobbs on a primetime game, we're going to see that, like, it hasn't been consistent from first to final snap. There's been a lot of fits and starts with this Vikings offense so far. You see all the highlights on Red Zone, right? And that's why I think people are kind of getting carried away with Josh Dobbs' performance. Now, he's been really good. Like, I'm not taking anything away from him. He has been good. He may well have saved the Minnesota Vikings season and their playoff chances, but I still think Pat Mahomes in a good matchup too. Like, that's the thing. Even if the Eagles can get after the Chiefs up front in the pass rush, like, Mahomes is just going to do the I'm holding the beer scramble that he does, you know? Like, he'll be fine from a fantasy perspective. It's a really good spot.
We are going to do some more analysis of Dobbs a little later in the show as we figure out how he shakes out against some of the other quarterbacks in the NFL for fantasy this weekend. In the meantime, let's get the next question up here for Behrens from J Pitt. J Pitt asks, Addison, Laporta, or McBride, full PPR, 100-yard bonus. I never should have thrown this to Behrens. My bad, but geez, shock us all. What do you think?
Yeah. Why do we even bother sending the Laporta questions to me? Addison actually has a matchup with a pretty frisky Denver defense lately, so I'm not going to go that route. I don't really like anybody's chances of getting to 100 yards here, but I do like Sam Laporta's chances of finding the end zone. Again, the Bears on the season, they've allowed 20 touchdown passes. This is the league's number 26 ranked defense. Laporta wins this thing on matchup.
All right, Sal, you get the last one here. It's going to come from Jonathan, who asks, Deontay Johnson or Rashee Rice? What do you think, Sal?
This is an interesting spot. I think I'm going to actually go with Rashee Rice here coming out of the bye. We'll see if he gets more usage as the rookie. Nothing against Deontay. Last week was kind of weird. They ran the ball a ton, had success against the Packers. This week he gets the Browns, though. I kind of want to stay away from that. Rashee Rice out of the bye. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, an extra week against the Eagles secondary that's given up the most points to fantasy receivers. Let's see what he could do.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the injury report coming out of practice today and who we're keeping an eye on for this weekend. some big ones here. Antonio Gibson, toe injury. Madison, concussion, limited on Thursday. Dameon Pierce out with the ankle. So those are some big injuries there. We also have some players that are coming back from injured reserve, or at least eligible to come back from injured reserve. Tight end Pat Freiermuth for Pittsburgh after the hamstring injury, huge. Justin Jefferson from Minnesota, hamstring injury, huge. Devon Achane, who's sitting on my bench waiting to get back into my fantasy starting lineup, huge. And then you've got Khalil Herbert, who we mentioned earlier. So some significant players eligible to come in off of injured reserve. We will keep an eye on that. But the biggest news of the week, obviously, is Deshaun Watson sidelined for the rest of the year after undergoing shoulder surgery. It creates an interesting question because, Matt, I'm trying to figure out, we've spent all week on all of our great shows on Yahoo talking about this, but what's it mean from a fantasy standpoint when you look at the offensive weapons for Cleveland to you?
Is it weird to say not that much? I mean, we really only super care about Amari Cooper, right? And I do think Amari Cooper's weekly ceiling and floor has to come down. That's obviously a bummer. I think he was a high-end 2 prior to this Watson news. I think he's probably more of a high-end 3, very boomer bust. That's kind of been the story of Amari Cooper's career. But it is really unfortunate because I think he has played his best football, no doubt about it, in a Cleveland Browns uniform. To me, he's been at his best with the Browns the last couple of years. So that is definitely a bummer. I think it takes his ceiling and floor down, but it's not like we were really playing Elijah Moore. David Njoku's getting some volume, but we've played a lot of the season so far with backup quarterbacks in Cleveland. Like, we kind of know what we're getting.
Yeah, that DTR point's a pretty good one. Andy, what do you think this does to the Browns offense?
Yeah, to the point about Cooper, I will say that Cooper with Deshaun Watson in games this season has been statistically like twice as good as he has with Walker and DTR. And some of that is unfair because you have to look at matchups and things like that. But it really hurts him. I just can't help but think how I would feel as a Browns fan right now. Not so much just because Watson is injured, but you look at the numbers for Deshaun Watson this season versus last season, and they are the same numbers. And I realize injuries were part of it, but they are exactly the same numbers. 6 games, 7 touchdowns each season. He's got 13 more passing yards this year. The same YPA, nothing got better. You'd better hope that it was really the injury this year, because otherwise you're doomed for the next 4 years with a quarterback who is just not playing at a replacement level for a starter.
Yeah, I would welcome everybody to go check out the Yahoo Sports app. We've got a ton of coverage on Deshaun Watson. I've had plenty to say about it all week, including that contract breakdown. You can find it all out there. Make sure you take a look at it. In the meantime, we've got a fantasy feast, guys. Just 4 days before Thanksgiving, we get Chiefs and Eagles Monday Night Football. A lot to break down on this Super Bowl rematch. Everybody's got their eye on it. But, Barons, what's something you're looking for in this game?
Yeah, Philadelphia's pass defense, really in defiance of all expectations going into the year, has not been good, not at all. They were not good in opening week against Mac Jones, who had 300-plus yards, not good in week 9 against Dak Prescott. They've been lit up by Sam Howell a couple of times. Dak got to him. Howell has passed for almost 700 yards against this team. It's most of the reason that he leads the league in passing yards right now. Philadelphia has given up you heard Sal go over some of these numbers. Philadelphia has given up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing QBs, the 5th most to tight ends, and the most to opposing wide receivers. This is just a lopsided defense. They've been pretty good against the run all year, first in the league against the run, so tough sledding for Pacheco maybe in this one. But, man, against the pass, it has been absolutely brutal. So, yeah, you don't need anybody to talk you into Patrick Mahomes. That one guy did, but most people don't need anybody to talk them into Patrick Mahomes this week. But there is a reason why he is the consensus QB1 for the week.
Well, and you mentioned Pacheco, something that for me has just been consistently inconsistent for the Chiefs offense this year is getting Isaiah Pacheco going. And frankly, they haven't been able to run when they've needed to run the football. I talked to Michael Lombardi pretty extensively about this on one of our shows also, about the inability to just go out and be physical as an offense. And it seems to be failing the Chiefs when they're in these close football games. At some point, when the rest of their offense isn't clicking, you would think that they'd be able to run the ball. And I thought Pacheco would be the guy that could do that. But they've had had more games where he's come out and averaged 2.5 a carry, 3 a carry, and it's just looked awful than games where it's looked like it has any rhythm. The fact that he hasn't been able to get going as a running back, and the fact that they haven't been able to establish a run when the rest of the offense lacks rhythm, is part of why I have trust issues right now with Kansas City. We all presume that Patrick Mahomes is going to make everything fine because that's what he does. He's the great elixir. But when I look at what's broken for this offense, I think it's fair to include Isaiah Pacheco in that conversation. Harmon, what are you looking for in this one?
Devonte Smith's time to shine, baby. Like I said earlier, what we saw last year was that when Dallas Goedert went out, I mean, just targets opened up for Smith. I think that's going to be the case again this year. And he has strung together some pretty good weeks after the Jets game where he saw 11 targets, 5 for 44. He has a couple of games back to back. The last 2 games we saw the Eagles with touchdowns. Now, one of them definitely came in the Washington game. And like Andy said, Sam Howell's been lighting up the Eagles all year. That's what he's been doing. So in those game scripts, Devonta Smith gets loose for kind of a busted coverage touchdown. The game, though, against Dallas, that was more of just a true one-on-one opportunity that he can win. And I think that's the key point here for me. Devonta Smith is too good to stay this quiet for this long, all right? He is a great separator on the outside. He can get it done, even with some of the tough physical coverage by the Chiefs that they have been playing all year long. I mean, Spags has been great. He's been cooking with this young defensive back group that the Kansas City Chiefs have. Devonta Smith is a really good player. Coming into the year of the number 2, 1B, whatever you want to say, receivers, he was the best of the group. I think he ends the season here on a really strong note, and I think he gets started on Monday Night Football.
I'm just looking forward to a Monday night matchup that's going to be absolutely incredible by both teams. This one actually should live up to the billing. Good Thursday night, good Monday night, good. We're spoiled this week. All right. If your fantasy football season is over and you're still hanging out with us, my God, we appreciate that. But here's what you need to remember. It's not really over because you can still get in on the action in daily fantasy. There's tons of contests out there in the Yahoo Fantasy app. You can check those out. And to help you get going, TJ Hernandez of 4 for 4 is back, breaking down some DFS values for this week. Take it away, guys.
Yes, this is beautiful. Much, much better here. We've got another buzzed bro here. Enough of Fitz with his little spiked up hair situation. Andy with that beautiful salt and pepper look. Sal with the perfect hairline. It's TJ Hernandez from 4 for 4. We love to see it. TJ, appreciate you joining me, buddy. Let's get it started with a quarterback here. Tell me a little bit about Kyler Murray coming off his first game of the 2023 season.
I cannot hear Harmon.
TJ, can you hear me about Kyler Murray yet?
All right, at quarterback, I like Kyler Murray at $28 playing against the Texans. That game is very intriguing with a total of 48.5 point over under. Arizona, before Kyler was there from weeks 1 through 9, Arizona throwing at the 5th lowest rate relative to expectation. With Kyler last week, they jumped up to 13th. So if you look at those raw passing numbers, they might not be as high as they were in some other games, but those other games were very game script dependent. As always with Kyler, we're going to get some rushing ability there. Murray, 6 rushes last week for 33 yards and a score. Always going to love that from our fantasy quarterbacks. Houston 16th in raw fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks, but when we adjust for strength of schedule, 26 in points allowed to quarterbacks. They've allowed 300 or more yards to 3 of the last 5 passers they faced, 2 of those being Desmond Ridder and Derek Carr. So obviously very vulnerable against some less than stellar competition. And we saw Kyler get some other Cardinals involved last week, so some contrarian pass options with Rondale Moore and Michael Wilson if you want to play them in big field tournaments as well.
Yeah, I love what I saw out of Kyler Murray. He looked like he was back. Talk to me about running backs. Brian Robinson from the Commanders had a big receiving day last week.
Brian Robinson at $21 against the Giants. We're always looking for running backs that are in spots as big favorites for that great game script. And against the Giants, we're probably going to get that every single week against this team right now. We've seen Brian Robinson with 60% of the backfield touch share over the last 6 weeks, but he has been one of the most game script dependent running backs in the league. He's averaging 17.8 touches in games that the Commanders win versus less than 12 when they lose. This is at 9-point favorites. We're looking for that 20 touch upside from Robinson this week. We've seen the Giants allow 100 or more total yards to opposing backfields in 3 straight games. At least one running back has scored in 4 straight games. We have Robinson as the RB8 in 4-for-4 projections right now, but he is the Yahoo RB13 by salary on the slate. And he's going to be a pivot off of Jahmyr Gibbs at $24, who is probably going to be one of the most popular running backs used in Yahoo tournaments. So I like going to Robinson at $21 here.
All right, now your wide receiver pick. I talked about this guy as a potential upside player in one of the start-sit questions. So tell me all about DJ Moore this week.
DJ Moore, obviously the big thing here, getting Justin Fields back against the Lions team in a game with a 48-point total. In games with Justin Fields, DJ Moore averaging 17.7 Yahoo points per game, 7.8 Yahoo points per game without Justin Fields. Obviously has some huge games in there, but consistently over 100 yards with Justin Fields throwing the ball. Hasn't even sniffed that 100-yard mark since. Detroit is one of the biggest pass funnel defenses that we could target in the league. They rank 7th against running backs when we adjust for strength of schedule. Against quarterbacks and wide receivers, they are bottom 10 when we adjust for strength of schedule. We have DJ Moore as our wide receiver 6 on 4-for-4. He is the wide receiver 25 by salary on Yahoo, our best value across all positions this week.
Love that. All right, at tight end, the Bills made a big change at offensive coordinator. I don't know if that's really going to change much here, but we've already seen a pretty big breakout for rookie tight end Dalton Kincaid. You like him a lot this week.
Dalton Kincaid at the tight end position, $17 in a week where we have no Travis Kelce, no Mark Andrews, or no TJ Hawkinson on the main slate. Kincaid stands out as one of the best values and one of the highest projected tight ends on the slate. There's only one other tight end with a Yahoo point projection above $10. That's Sam Laporta, and he's all the way up at $24. We've seen an average target share of 24% for Kincaid over the last 4 weeks. Over the course of the season, that would rank 3rd in the league. So getting a ton of targets over the last few weeks as the primary tight end in Buffalo. And though he doesn't have the biggest average depth of target, under 5 yards per target, still a lot of touchdown equity in this Buffalo offense, even against a stout New York Jets pass defense.
All right, TJ, appreciate you joining me, buddy. Listen, you all out there, if you are not following TJ's work, you're not listening to him on DFS MVP, you're not consuming his stuff at 4-for-4, and you're playing DFS, you're doing it wrong. Keep in tune with everything TJ's doing. TJ, appreciate it, man. Let's send it back to Andy and Fitz for a little fantasy face-off.
Woo! Now we get to have a little bit of fun, Andy. We get to take over the fantasy face-off. And I mentioned it earlier, like, let's go with the Pastronaut, the hottest sensation in recent memory. We're going to do a little either or here. I'll throw you Josh Dobbs or Justin Fields this week.
Yeah, what if I told you that Josh Dobbs had actually been the more bankable rushing asset for fantasy purposes this year? He's gone over 40 rushing yards 7 times. He's got rushing TDs in 4 straight games. The thing with Fields, though, is he's so much more high variance to me, because the problem, and Matt talked about this a little bit with Dobbs, we've seen a lot of pretty low passing totals from him, right? He's got 5 games with fewer than 200 passing yards, hasn't topped 268 all year. In Fields' last 2 full games prior to the injury, he threw 8 touchdown passes. So, like, a big week from one of these guys means something different for Justin Fields. So this thing really comes down, for me anyway, to, like, whether you're chasing ceiling in a given week, or if I just need 18 points from my quarterback and I feel like I'm a favorite, I'm going to go Josh Dobbs. If I need somebody to go supernova and deliver like a 30-point, 35-point week, I would take a shot with Fields.
All right, what about Dobbs versus Trevor Lawrence, who suddenly is much maligned by fans?
Yeah, and I think last week really overstates the Trevor Lawrence problem, right? He couldn't keep pass rushers off of him. I don't think that represents where Lawrence is at as a quarterback, and the upcoming matchup with Tennessee much friendlier and all that. But I also have to acknowledge that he has been a very low ceiling, sort of low floor quarterback for fantasy purposes this year. A little bit snake bit, but it is what it is. He's only got 2 games in which he's thrown even 2 touchdown passes, so that's not paying the fantasy bills. So this is a case where I would definitely go Dobbs.
All right, let's do this one. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. Dobbs or Joe Burrow?
Yeah, well, if you can't believe that, I can't believe the answer I'm going to give you. Burrow has no T. Higgins this week. He's facing a defense that allows a league low 5.5 yards per attempt. Baltimore has more interceptions on the year than touchdown passes allowed. I wouldn't sit Joe Burrow for just anyone, and I wouldn't go making transactions necessarily to sit Joe Burrow. But if I happen to have Dobbs on my bench, I think I'd play him here. Again, that rushing upside is phenomenal, and it's been there every week for Dobbs.
That's it. I'm going to propose a new show where we just take the fantasy questions that are being asked about fantasy football and give them to some diehard analyst that's just looking at the actual games that are taking place, and then just see how they react to me asking Dobbs versus Joe Burrow. All right, one more. Dobbs versus Geno Smith.
Oh, man, why start regular old Geno Smith when you can start this year's new and improved version of Geno Smith? They're both like basically the wildest story that you've ever seen, right? Like nobody saw Dobbs coming, just like nobody saw Geno coming. I realize Denver's defense has been playing better, and that's who Dobbs gets this week. But they're still allowing 8 yards per attempt on the year. For me, this is Dobbs. Again, it's that rushing upside that tips it in.
All right, Harmon's had enough time off. We're going to bring Harmon back in. It's time to get ready for our hurry-up offense. Boys, you know the drill. Everybody knows the drill. We're going to help a bunch of people out by putting the clock up. I'm going to take too long to read the question just to annoy Harmon, just to try and pinch him in and see if I can make him talk while the whistle is blowing. Let's get that 25-second clock up on there. And the first one comes from Man versus Life, who asks, Rondell Moore or Odell Beckham? What do you think, Harmon?
I don't think either of these guys are particularly well set up, but I mean, Rondell Moore, no thanks. Go with Odell Beckham in a potentially high-scoring game.
Oh, look at that. He still got it in. Golly. All right. Next up, Cheese Curd. Cheese Curd is a heck of a name. Says, Kincaid or Boyd, half PPR. What do you think, Andy?
Oh, man, they both have brutal matchups against elite pass defenses. Boyd is coming off a 12-target game. We like that. But I feel like TJ kind of talked me into Kincaid. He made me feel a little bit better about him. I think he is probably the more likely of the two to score a touchdown.
Look at that. He did it with 6 seconds to spare. I just feel like now I just want to hear the whistle go just to see the cringe from everybody. There we go. All right, let's get the next question up. This one comes from Selvin Moreno. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Selvin. If I'm not, please let us know. I appreciate your picture. He says, Standard League, Jaden Reed, Ty Chandler, or Charbonnet. What say you, Mr. Matt Harmon?
Yeah, we haven't talked a lot about Ty Chandler. We won't get to talk about him a lot here because Fitz took up all the clock, but he is my answer.
Oh, touche. That's well played by you, good sir. That is well played by you. All right, next up, Christopher Martin says, Rico Dowdle or Antonio Gibson. What do you think? Andy.
Oh, man, I might lean Gibson if he weren't injured, right? He's got a toe injury. He's missed a couple days of practice this week. Dowdle is in a situation where he's obviously ascending in Dallas, and Tony Pollard has disappointed people. And he's got the same sort of game script that he had last week. They should be up big, and he should handle a lot of carries in the second half, so Dowdle.
You know what? Ask and ye shall receive, Harmon. You get the next question, and we're going to roll right into it. Citizen of the Week says, start, sit, Burrow, or Lamar. What do you got?
Yeah, of course, guys, we talked about nonstop all night. Now I've got plenty of time to bloviate and blah, blah, blah. I don't even know how you have both of these guys on your team. Pretty outrageous stuff. I think I'm going to go Lamar just a tick over Burrow.
All right, he goes just a hair over him and still have plenty of time to spare. The whistle's not going off enough. T-Loop says, Trent Irwin or Chris Godwin, what say you, Andy?
Oh, man, this is how far Chris Godwin has fallen. No one wants to hear it, but he's getting 7 or 8 targets a game every week. Irwin, again, is in a situation where he's just facing a monster pass defense against Baltimore. This is not a normal week, friendly matchup. You might go Irwin because you think he's going to find the end zone, no T. Higgins, all that. But for me, this is Godwin.
All right, Harmon, you're going to get the next question so quick so that you can give the world the analysis they need. Johnny says, Ty Chandler or Keaton Mitchell?
Well, Ty Chandler, look, he might be taking over the running back 1 role for the Minnesota Vikings. They have not run the ball really well so far this year, whether it's Cam Akers or Alexander Madison. If Madison misses, though, I mean, he's got a clear-cut path to the running back job 1, and I think he's got some juice. I think you can project him for more targets in a potentially juicy matchup on Sunday night.
Oh. You know what? That's what you get for getting juicy in the show. Josh says full spot. Full PPR, Zay Flowers or Devin Singletary. Barons, what do you say?
Oh, man, I'm tempted to play Singletary because we don't think Dameon Pierce is going to go. He's facing like the league's 28th ranked run defense. He's coming off a 150-yard game, but I would still go Zay Flowers. I've just been super impressed by him this year. And the thing tipping it in is the format. It's full PPR. Pretty confident that Zay Flowers is going to see 5 catches.
A little delay game, but we'll allow that one. Brendan says Rashee Rice versus Philly or Brandon Cooks at Carolina. What do you say, Matt Harmon?
Oh, man. Brandon Cooks coming off a monster game. The Carolina Panthers offer little to no resistance for anything, but I just don't trust the weekly usage there. I don't know that Rashee Rice is going to get that full role, but he is my pick here in a good matchup.
And with seconds to spare on here, Andy, you are back up on the clock. Mixon or Brian Robinson, Jesse asks. What do you think?
Well, I can tell you, I hope the right answer is Joe Mixon because I took him in primetime picks and I need to make up a lot of ground. But my answer for this is going to be Brian Robinson. Again, Antonio Gibson is dinged. He's got 8 touchdowns on the year. He's been great. He's got a fantastic matchup. I got to go Robinson.
All right, Harmon, you get the last one in here. The last touchdown play comes to you. Astro says full PPR, pick one. Pacheco, James Cook, Tank Dell. Gus, what do you got?
Oh, let me spike this one here. I mean, it's a full PPR. We got 1 receiver. Other guys, 2 of them have troubling pass catching roles. The other one, James Cook, it's like, come on, hold on to the ball for God's sakes. I'm tanked out easily here, highest ceiling in the floor.
You know what? You did so well. We're going to get one more in. It turns out extra time was put on the clock. Andy Barons for the touchdown. Now, Michael says tight end Cole Kmet or Jake Ferguson. Running back Michael Keaton or Royce Freeman. No PPR. Ask FFL. I got tangled up, Andy. What do you got?
Oh yeah, if I could play Michael Keaton, sure. I'm gonna go Keaton Mitchell here. That's fun. That's spicy. We think he's gonna get additional touches, and I'm gonna go Jake Ferguson as well. Tough one. Both tight ends have been good all season, but I'm gonna go Ferguson.
All right, don't forget, as always, you can check back in Sunday morning, latest player injuries, and Scott Pianowski will answer all your last-minute lineup questions on social media, #AskFFL. But we have a huge programming note. Want to make sure everybody knows that next week you can join us for a Thanksgiving edition of Fantasy Football Live on Wednesday night. That's right, not Thursday. It'll be Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to preview the 3-game Thanksgiving Day slate, break down the whole weekend of football on Wednesday night. We're going to figure out what Harmon's figured out that actually makes turkey edible. All of this is going to happen on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You do not want to miss it. It is obviously going to be the time of your life. We wish all of you guys the best of luck. For everybody behind the scenes that works their tails off to put their show together, and everybody in New York that helped me get here to do the show here tonight, we really appreciate all of you guys to take the time to listen. He's Andy Barons. He's Matt Harmon. I'm Jason Fitz. Thanks for hanging out with us. Come back Wednesday next week for more fun.